Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful. A'udhu billahi shaitanir rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and from ignorance. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise goes to the Lord of worlds. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path and rapid freely. May God forgive us for the sins that we're conscious and unconscious of. As an imperfect person, I wonder about perfect things all the time. I've understood that accepting imperfection is somewhat like a perfect state. I have understood that reality changes and who we are in reality also changes. And I also believe that, in the 8 billion, among the 8 billion human beings, like all the human beings that are here on this planet, 100% everybody has inactivated, untapped into potential. So all of this is developing for me, and I'm getting to a state of mind all of this is making me ask and wonder about what a world of geniuses would look like. And what would genius mean to them? And when I look at my species, my human species, I know that there is untapped potential. I know that if you truly pay attention to reality, you will notice that your mind can forge many probabilities to any situation. The mind, the aql, the intelligence, the awareness to our awareness and its contents is a gift and mercy from the system admin. There is a phrase in the Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't remember the phrase exactly, but it says that, like, if you're ignorant, you kind of walk in this world. The ignorant walk in this world like deaf, dumb, and blind. Now that's an expression, but what it is implying also, to whatever depth it has, ultimately I am fascinated to know what the opposite of this looks like. Right now, 2025, the species is more foolish than it is wise, and it is more distracted than it is explorative. You understand? It's all a matter of just to asking, wondering if your mind, this is how I challenge myself often. I wonder, what is it that I cannot do? And if I cannot do it in the outer realms, can I do it in the inner realms? I firmly believe that we, even though it is all in one moment of soul, but like an advanced technology, the human being has an outer interface and an internal interface. The outer interface of the human is legit your face. Like, go look at yourself in the mirror. That's the external interface, right? But when you wonder about, like, if your body's the hardware, okay, what about my software? And your software is how you see yourself as a character in a culturally programmed system. You see, I don't know why, but I think a part of me understood that in this world, there's many ways it can move, and it's not a matter of like accumulating knowledge, because the mystery is right in front of our eyes. There's this notion that man goes on collecting and gathering knowledge, just so at the end of at the end of its life, it realizes it all goes back to the mystery. So there is a mysterious element to reality, and this is actually relieving. Sometimes some things are creating for stress for people that for others are like a source of relief. And it's a matter of identity. It's a matter of what you're identifying with as a being, and in some sense, the arena of your awareness. So, to honor the episode, I don't perceive myself as like a brave person, but there are moments that because I have values, and think of it this way, that you as an entity maintain yourself through an organized value system, an organizational value system. Ultimately, when you wonder what is my value, in reality, you cannot ignore the dynamic and the condition of self and world. Okay, and so it's a matter of what is relating to you. When you look at the human life, it's a matter of self-obsession. It's like, looking at humanity from a distance and being like, what are these human beings doing? They enter this world, they are self-obsessed. Everything has to be real to self, meaningful to self, correct to self, aligned to self, da 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 da, self, 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 self. And in the middle of a world what much bigger than ourself, the self-obsession limits the sight of man. Do you know, like, let me tell you what the difference between like an advanced character in a story, like, imagine I wrote a novel and I had two characters. And let me tell you what the difference, how one character is advanced, how the other isn't. One character in the novel, right, cannot comprehend, cannot fathom, cannot even feel anything outside of the simulation, outside of the story. But there is one character in the story that has noticed the author of the story. Now, that character is way more advanced, even from the perspective of, beyond worldly viewership. Anyways, where I'm going with all of this is ultimately to my fascination of what would the opposite of now be. And then I just for a second thought, like, okay, let's say tomorrow everybody on the planet suddenly realized they were geniuses. Imagine. We can imagine. So I'm asking you as a human being, as a member of the species, asking the whole species, I want you to all for a second wonder, what would it mean, a world of genius? Is it something close to like how angels are with God? Or could it imply something else? To me, let me tell you what genius, I think so far in 33 years of life, what the definition of genius has come to for me. Genius is the entrance of completed meaning. Or I can say it this way. To me, for example, the person who came up with the Kardashev scale, like if they tell me between Einstein and Kardashev, who I think was the bigger genius, I would say Kardashev was a genius that could see the future, was a genius futurist, and Einstein was trying to comprehend the laws of the present. I mean, on some level, you can realize that it's super obvious that anything a person can talk about, if it's in a frame of time, through the way we human beings speak, is divided between past, present, future. For example, somebody says, Mr. Within, talk about leaders. I'll be like, okay, there's leaders in the past, there's leaders in the present, and there's leaders in the future. Now, I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to fathom what would a world of geniuses look like if tomorrow we woke up and all of us were geniuses. What would that look like? Okay, and then if all of us knew that everybody else was also a genius, what would that look like? And obviously it's novel emotional territory for us, even if we imagine it, because it would imply a type of attention, the movement of attention on earth in ways that are constantly finding the unimaginable. You see, you can kind of think of it this way. You tell me what genius means. When you look at the world and you realize human civilization is actually the effort of our ancestors, and in some sense how they reacted to the unknown by in some sense posing a known story where meaning could be relatable. You know, it's kind of like when somebody compliments your appearance, like there's an unavoidable honesty in that. But when somebody says, you know, you mean a lot to me, that's in personal subjective territory. Anyways, where I'm going with this is we have to consider genius meaning a type of super advanced attention is going to be on Earth. So right now, Civilization 1.0, it is the result of, the depth of how far we see now. But if genius means that we are like this known explorer in an unknown world and we suddenly access unknown sectors to reality that were there, see, genius ultimately comes down to the utility for the greatest possibility. That means, like, to me, if somebody says Mr. Within, conceptually, who's your favorite genius? I would say that genius hasn't been born yet, but it's probably going to be the first person who discovers somehow anti-gravity or floating technology. That genius, that inventor is going to be blessed by God. That inventor, imagine being the first human being and you call your girlfriend in the room and you suddenly, I don't know, put on these wristbands or something. So there's some sort of technology, and then you press that, or maybe it's in the force field of the room, and you press that and you start floating in the air. And for example, you ask your girlfriend to come into the air. You know what I mean? Like, jump into there, and suddenly you realize you have created a new psychological dimension for man. Because man's psychology is based on his behavior. His behavior is based on the limitations of the world. And so based on the limitations of his world, the behavior repeats. Like, this might sound a little bizarre and messed up, but in the same way that, imagine some berserked animal is trying to get into, like, let's say, like a crazy, imagine like a crazy bear trying to get into like a house or something. Like an animal that just loops until the barrier breaks. Okay? You see, guys, what I'm understanding more and more is how so many of the world leaders and people alive right now haven't looked at the future. Because they're still being, how do I say it, abused by their own past to some degree. By the weight of sin is that you don't get to see the truth because you were busy sinning. But whatever it is, I find that it ultimately, the justification of what happens in the moment, it's the genius of the system admin. However, guys, please, in the chat section, like, think about what I'm saying and ask questions about it, so you're also expanding the talk. Wonder if your most advanced self was listening. What would the most advanced question be to ask? And then ask that in the chat section, and I'll be like, all right, now I'm finding my subscribers. Anyways, I gotta go further here, because we're just, like, I want to go further and be like, okay, let's say tomorrow 8 billion geniuses, everybody was genius, so it's fair to assume I'm also a genius. Okay, so imagine tomorrow we woke up, every human being on earth was a genius. Now, what would that psychologically imply? So technically, let's say there's 4 ways to look at it, but we start off with the way we have access to. And the way we have access to is first the self. So you have become a genius self, but still civilization is unupdated. It's like tomorrow we woke up, everybody was a genius. The first thing we would probably see would be the the massive instant slowing down of decision making. We're going to see a next level patience in the human species. We're going to see human beings that, in some sense, all of them realize they see further. And in the future, there's no longer going to be a smart person, because in advanced civilization, everybody's opening everybody's eyes all the time. But what that means is everybody is living for the most advanced possibility to reality. I want to tell you a story of this, like, Chinese genius general. Okay, I don't know who it was, but it was like some next level genius Chinese general. And he had an army of 100 soldiers. The enemy had army of like 10,000 or something. like a couple thousand. Now they're passing through their kingdom to invade them and go invade the next place, but they know that there's like a notable general here. So what ends up happening is that this general, this is like genius, right? We're talking about genius here in this lecture. Look at the genius thing this guy does. The general with the 100 men's like, obviously we can't fight these guys, so it's a psychological battle, right? So what the general does is tell all his men to hide and just be prepared just in case, right, for evacuation or something or whatever. And then they open the, I don't know, fortress doors, okay, and it's like evening, right? And suddenly the general is sitting on top of like some roof and playing a lute, like playing some sort of flute or something. And the enemy general with his army comes in, and they're like, yo, this is sketchy. This guy's just playing a flute. Why would he be so comfortable? Right? That means like maybe there's massive armies hidden everywhere. We don't realize, we need to retreat. And the dude makes a general with 10,000 soldiers retreat by psychologically making him feel, as Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, when you're weak, you know, do you understand? When you're strong, act weak. Okay, Sun Tzu says this. But Sun Tzu was a general, and back in the day, the reality of bloodshed had a completely different implication on what was ethical for man to do. You see, one habit I'm trying to incorporate in my life is that my ideals are like, okay, my name is Amin Javan Ansari, so I'm like, okay, Amin, you're alive now. You've logged into, you know, the historical era of 2025. You're a human being. There's 8 billion other human beings here. There's a world, just like how in, for example, poker, people are given different hands. Every human being in consciousness that emerges here is given a different hand. So in some sense, the task of the self is to kind of play its hand. Now, if you are optimistic, you fold your hand. Excuse me. If you're pessimistic, you fold your hand. If you're optimistic, you want to go all in. But at the same time, you have reason. And what does reason do? You know how Christ said, I think it was in maybe the commandments of Moses. But I think also Christ said it, I don't know exactly the order, but pretty much it's the idea of like treat the golden rule, treat your neighbor like how you would treat yourself. That applies to anything. It's remarkable. So when we look at what an advanced, like what would a world of geniuses look like, we're looking at the slowing down of decision making, and we're considering that they will be people that are seeing so much more connections, maybe like 100 times more connections and meaning in reality, and they understand completely. See, awareness is like a beautiful art, like style, like, you know, like how there's martial arts and there's different martial arts. It's like, to me, how do I say it, like, how your attention moves in what it is present, in where it is present, is kind of like suggesting you anyways. So fathoming a world of geniuses, like I've asked this question from AI too before the talk, just to have something prepared. But I'm taking, like, I'm trying to open it up for you. Like if this question was an orange, I'm like trying to open it in my own way. I'm trying to peel it in my own way, okay? And pretty much I've come to the understanding that I'm like this person who's fathomed, like wondered about the most advanced human, the most advanced, like I've wondered about the most advanced version of myself. I've wondered about the most advanced version of the species. I've wondered about what the most advanced version of the world is. I've wondered about what the most advanced relationship with a higher power is. I've wondered about all of these. But when I find the microphone and I'm speaking to a timeless audience, inshallah, if God willing, if this happens, then I must, in some sense, point to see what do I care for. Right now, if I care for the past, I'd probably be just talking about the past to you. If I cared for the present, I'd probably be just like complaining all the time. I'd be talking about the present to you. But because I've already cared for the past and the present, and that relationship has looped so many days, I've kind of felt like the future is like I'm standing on some balcony and the future's right there. Like I can feel the air of the future, but it's like I can breathe the air of the future behind my eyes, but in front of our eyes, like it's, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like the management of two lives. Like I'm managing my external existential life right now, but I'm simultaneously managing how my conscious moment is forging this story for the world. You know, we all have hearts, and our hearts are beating, and we all have minds. I remember seeing a picture of a brain. Like if you take a brain and like all its roots, like nerve endings, and you see just the brain and how it's connected to the spine and how it's connected to the eyes, you suddenly feel like there's like a being, a biological being inside your biological being, maintaining your biological being. But that's not the point, because it's like some people look at a car and they spend their whole life just, you know, understanding its design, and then there's some people who are like, man, in the time of where I should be understanding its design, what if I should also be driving it? What if by driving the vehicle I will understand the possibilities it is leading to? Whether you like it or not, every one of you is living for your future self. All the decisions you make right now, even every moment of your life, they're all giving something. It's like you're gifting something to your future, or you're taking something away. When I smoke a cigarette, I'm taking away something from my moment. When I give a lecture, I'm giving something I'm adding something to the moment. And ultimately, I acknowledge myself as a value. I have a value system. This value system leads to potential. Anyways, in a world of geniuses, they'll be like, yo, everybody's a genius. So genius doesn't mean anything. It would pretty much become a normal world, but it would be a world so without error. The errors and mistakes of the human species would be so limited. That means like efficient, intelligent, workable decisions are going to be made more and more. And geniuses will always find a new way to look at a moment that has found as like stop. To me, sure, you can say like, yo man, we want human beings to understand each other. But visually for me, it's kind of like, imagine like this wind that is made of light is moving through different people. And so it's like more than my life just has a value in regards to what it means to me. I am part of an event. It's remarkable. this world. It's even way more remarkable when you wonder like what ending you're destined for. In some sense, how pure could you be in an impure world? How true could you be in a false world? How original could you be in a simulation? I'm telling the chat section, like, ask deep questions, and people are like, goodbye. What can I say? If, like, here's the cool thing. Let me say it this way. This is going to inspire everybody. If they told me right now, inspire your species in like under 10 minutes, I would be like, I'll try to do it in a few sentences. If you try, let's say, drawing a picture, and you know that there's someone on Earth who can draw that picture in a more advanced way, you know there's a more advanced way of something happening. So you know it's possible. You know, for example, somebody drew like a work of art, you can also draw. And if you want to draw like that, then you got to go learn that and all that. But anyways, what I'm saying is, right now, I can imagine somebody driving better than me. I could imagine, you know, somebody just being a better person than me. You know, I can imagine, you know what I mean? I can imagine, I can see. It's like our mind gives us that ability to be able to see what we can be, you know. We are the human species. We know that we have a responsibility. We're also, compared to all the other creatures on this planet, the most advanced species. And just like for Spider-Man, Uncle Ben was like, with great power comes great responsibility. It's as if like the faiths of the world, the faiths, it's in some sense like telling you that because you are the most advanced organism on this planet, and because you can notice yourself distinct from your environment, you have an ability to be aware that you're aware. Okay, so there's like a viewer to how you're viewing things, and it's like if you have thoughts, it's kind of weird. Like we say we have thoughts, but it's also like we're viewing the thought. Like, what does it mean when somebody's like, hey, I just got a new thought, you know, I just got an idea. What is that? It's as if like they suddenly saw something unlocked about how their eyes were giving meaning to their sight. And this is the interesting thing. I think in a world of geniuses, like they're going to be like, how can genius, like they're probably going to be smarter than the definition. Anyways, guys, we've reached that point where I'm going to read what AI has said. This is interesting too. The idea is we're kind of like explorers in the world trying to see all the different structures and reference points to it. So this is what AI is saying. So I pretty much asked AI what a world of... okay, let me tell you what I asked AI. I mean, I don't want to... Here, okay, I'll say. I asked AI, what would a world of geniuses look like if they were also aware that everybody was geniuses? What would be the most genius thing they would all do together? What would genius mean to them? What a sort of future do they see for themselves? You can imagine. This happened right now starting from 2025. So I asked ChatGPT this, and ChatGPT gave an answer. I kind of polished it up, and eventually I'm going to read for you the like last thing that's here. Okay. Just like how we have explorers in the outer realms, guys, we also need explorers in the inner realms, but the inner realms has to do with how we're being aware to reality, how we're being aware to reality, because we're imperfect and limited, it comes across as just one angle. Okay, but anyways, so when I'm reading this thing from AI, we're trying to get a new angle on it. All right. Let me see how much battery life we have here. We have 15%, guys. It's the talk's gonna end soon. Okay, quickly, I'm gonna read this. A world of geniuses, defined by truth, not fantasy. 2025, a realist blueprint for civilization. Okay, relax, ChatGPT. Okay, here I'm gonna read it, guys. First, so ChatGPT is giving its answer. It's saying first, what is genius? The etymology. From Latin, I don't know, genius, meaning the guiding spirit of a person or place, a generative force. Now here it's saying true definition, classical plus modern. Genius is the innate capacity to see connections others miss, to solve problems with original insight, and to express that insight in a form that transforms the environment. It is not just intelligence, it's applied originality combined with adaptive depth and responsible action. Guys, I'm just imagining in the future there's going to be like a university lecture, and the class is going to be called Applied Originality Studies. And there's going to be a bunch of awkward kids walking into that classroom, and the teacher's just going to like snap them out of their awkwardness. Anyways, not to go off topic. So that's the definition of genius. Genius is the innate capacity to see connections others miss, to solve problems with original insight, and to express that insight in a form that transforms the environment. Now, ChatGPT is like, if everyone became a genius, what changes? So ChatGPT is explaining, he's like, buddy, I'm giving you an answer. So you got to assume something. So it's saying, let's assume everyone has the capacity for deep insight, can see systems, not just events, has the discipline to refine thought into useful form, knows others have this ability too. I'm reading ChatGPT AI. It says, here's what realistically happens. 1. The economy becomes post-scarcity through problem solving. Geniuses don't just generate ideas, they build systems. Guys, those two things go hand in hand. Every supply chain, transportation network, energy grid, and food system gets redesigned by people who understand them as living feedback loops. Waste drops drastically. Innovation accelerates geometrically. Value becomes defined by problem solved per resource used. Poverty disappears not by charity, but by efficiency scaled by insight. Incredible. Now, second thing, it says education is replaced by... Okay, guys, let me explain the previous one. Oh my God, I don't have enough battery life. Education is replaced, the second point. Education is replaced by curated cognitive acceleration. Geniuses don't need rote instruction. They need access to tools, peers, and real problems. So school becomes project-based, self-directed with AI-augmented tutoring, focused on meta skills, reasoning, systems modeling, abstraction, synthesis, and moral reasoning. Standardized testing dies, portfolios of impact replace diplomas. 3. Governance becomes transparent and systems-based. A society of geniuses cannot be governed through manipulation. So, politics becomes systems design. Decision-making moves to transparent, distributed models. Example, liquid democracy, citizen juries, ethical AI advisors. Policy debates are based on simulation, plus forecasting, not ideology. Laws become adaptive algorithms, monitored in real time for social, economic, environmental feedback. That's dope. We go to number 4. Culture evolves towards precision, meaning, and purpose. No more meaningless media loops. In a genius society, culture is upstream of behavior. So, art becomes functional, not just aesthetic. Language evolves towards precision. Fewer lies, more clarity. The species works with original info. Religion becomes practice-based, in brackets, inner development over dogma. And then we have popularity becomes irrelevant. Value comes from signal, not noise. This probably means that your value in the future is in the amount of problems you can solve. Like a group of geniuses will look at another genius and be like, that guy in one genius move solved like 1,000 problems. Like it's the legend of the genius who solved 1,000 problems with one genius move. For example, I'm saying. Anyways, we go to the fifth one. Most genius thing they do together. They'd build an open source, feedback rich planetary system for intelligent life support. Imagine a planetary dashboard that shows resource usage, emotional health, innovation activity, ecosystem resilience, governance integrity. This becomes the North Star, a living mirror for civilization. By North Star, it's an expression of where our attention goes to at night or whatever. No one controls it, everyone contributes, and everyone uses it to steer better, like instruments tuning to the same key, to the more advanced vision, I guess. 6, security becomes integrity, not force. You can't manipulate a genius, so threats, lies, and brute force become obsolete. Cybersecurity, privacy, and protection evolve into personal encryption plus global verification protocols. Governments aren't protectors, they are verifiers of trust. Whoa. Okay, it says then real timeline, 2025 to 2040. So it says from 2025 to 2030, tools like GPT, AutoGPT, and open source AI reach developing minds. Educational elites lose power. First, in brackets, genius zones emerge, co-working plus living communities for high-capacity thinkers. (2030 to 2035), social networks become idea labs, not dopamine loops. Governance shifts to protocol and peer review. First, genius built cities emerge. Think Masdar, but truly optimized. 2035 to 2040, global decision-making augmented by simulation plus collective mind mapping. Crises response is instant, systematic, and non-political. The baseline human identity becomes, in quotations, I am a thinking system in service of life. Yeah, that's healthy. ChatGPT says, final thought, what genius demands? The world of geniuses is not soft, it's not utopia, it's accurate. And that means responsibility is non-negotiable. Clarity matters more than emotion. Every individual must face the burden of insight and choose to carry it. And truth is the highest ethic. Here it says, genius in its truest form is not about being admired, it's about seeing what's really there and improving it anyway. What an incredible, I can't believe the sentences I'm reading right now. Anyways, after that, I asked ChatGPT what would the foundations of their genius civilization be built like, and what would it look like for the daily life of the person. And ChatGPT has given an answer. Hopefully I have enough time to read this. Foundational pillars of a genius civilization. A genius civilization is not built on wealth, control, or tradition. It is built on cognitive, ethical, and systemic precision, designed to scale intelligence, adaptability, and integrity. Here are the core foundations. First point, systems integrity. Everything from cities to software is designed to reflect truthful system behavior. No waste, no corruption, no hidden dependencies. Infrastructure adapts in real time to resource flow and human need. Governance operates on verified models, not ideology. Failure is a part of the system, detected, learned from, and integrated. Everything runs like a well-written program, visible, logical, and provable. Second point, cognitive sovereignty. The mind of every citizen is seen as a sacred infrastructure. I've been talking about this for years, by the way. Each person is trained in critical thinking, metacognition, and bias awareness from a young age. Propaganda is impossible. People recognize manipulation in seconds. AI helps people think better, not for them. No one believes blindly. Thought is a civic skill. Okay? What an incredible sentence. Third point, shared reality infrastructure. Instead of media and social networks dividing people, they build shared mental models of the world. All data is open, verified, contextualized. Everyone has access to the same models of climate, economics, public health, etc. Citizens debate model assumptions, not shout opinions. That's very well said here. Conflict decreases because everyone sees the same simulation of reality and works from the same facts. But what the same facts are how accurate can our perception be beyond our perception. It's kind of like goes even deeper than that. Here it says, fourth point, ethical constraint as design standard. All technology, architecture, and institutions are ethically constrained from the ground up. Decisions must pass through ethical filters. For example, in quotations, will this harm future generations? Tech is rated by long-term effects on people, systems, and truth. Dark incentives, in brackets, addiction, manipulation, short-termism, are engineered out. Intelligence without ethics is just fast destruction. Geniuses know this, so ethics is baked into the code. Fifth point, collaborative self-governance. Instead of centralized control, governance becomes collaborative protocol adjustment. Local regions use liquid democracy or verified consensus. Global decisions emerge from networked deliberation platforms. The idea of, in quotations, ruling disappears. Instead, tuning the system like a musical instrument. The civilization runs like a self-healing organism, not a machine of rulers and followers. Then the next thing, it says what daily life looks for a person living in this genius civilization. Let's walk through a typical day. Say in the year 2037, 12 years into the civilization's formation. Morning. Tuning the mind. Wake up when your body's circadian rhythm signals wake up when your body's circadian rhythm signals readiness. No alarm clocks. Your AI assistant wake up when your body's circadian rhythm signals readiness. No alarm clocks. Your AI assistant, in brackets, a non-intrusive, deeply private system, gives you a summary of the planet's current condition, environmental, societal, your local area, an emotional self-assessment based on sleep, heart rate, brain signals, a short mental conditioning session, precision breathing, meditation, cognitive sharpening exercises. So guys, this is pretty much your Jarvis in the year 2037, for example. Mental hygiene is like brushing your teeth, but for attention, clarity, and ethics. Midday, high impact work with autonomy. You don't have a, in quotations, job. You have a domain of contribution. You're working with a group of 20 to 50 others around the world solving a long-term systemic issue. You get paid in contribution credits tied to impact, longevity, system improvement, peer review. AI handles admin, scheduling, task breakdowns. You focus on deep work. Work feels like contributing to a shared simulation that upgrades reality. In the afternoon, community forum or problem labs. Twice a week, you attend local forums, reviewing models of your city's energy use, transport flow, or education feedback. You can vote, propose, or prototype live on transparent systems. Community isn't based on location. It's based on domain, which means education, agriculture, energy, etc., for example. Everyone's mind is considered part of the infrastructure. Participation is routine, not exceptional. Evening, expression and growth. After contributing to systems, you turn to self-expression or learning. Art, philosophy, music, engineering, and nature immersion are all treated as civic duties, not leisure. Also, there would be also establishing a relationship with the system admin. So prayer is like super advanced technology. Probably one of the most advanced state that man can enter. Anyways, then it says you might contribute to a global knowledge map, mentor a youth in your domain, write an insight log to be archived for future civilizations. Time is not in quotations free, it's purposeful, but chosen freely. At night, reflect and insight capture. Before sleep, you review your emotional arc for the day. You note any moments of irrationality or brilliance. You make a small contribution to your personal legacy file, a record of insight, questions, and service for future humans. Sleep isn't escape, it's integration. Summary: the daily life of a genius citizen. You're not dominated by external systems, you're a co architect of them. Your time is respected because your mind is respected. You're not motivated by fear, shame, or status, but by clarity, contribution, and coherence. Life is not a hustle, it is a well crafted interface between your consciousness and reality. There you go, folks. I've read it for you. Some final sentences before I end off. So the whole point of this episode was for me to be like, all right, guys, let's wonder about the most advanced possibility. And just to make it entertaining, I was like, what if tomorrow we all woke up as geniuses? And the whole lecture has contributed to that, has pushed that vision forward. Ultimately, where we come to is that we are not in a world of geniuses, but because we can imagine it, it's like the potential is possible. Right now, you don't know how many different ways you could be looking at this moment and in how many ways it can mean something to you. And it's kind of